The reality is that emotions have a 90-second trajectory. So if we develop the awareness to meet ourselves in the experience that we're having, and we can hold it for 90 seconds, we can trust that zing of intensity will then move through us in a very short period of time. And then we can be in right relationship with anger, because anger shows up when boundaries have been crossed. Like, it's a healthy emotion. It's not healthy to get programmed into that frequency and run that frequency.
Welcome to the QBC podcast, where we explore exciting new paradigms that have a meaningful impact on our day-to-day lives. I'm your host, Meredith Oak. Let's keep the conversation going. Join us in our free community by visiting qbcpod.com. That's qbcpod.com. And let's see where the quantum superhighway takes us next. People are often asking me, like, oh, is this included in quantum biology? Is that included in quantum biology? What about peptides? Is that what? Yes, it's all included. And pretty soon we won't even be saying quantum biology. This is like a weird little bridge phrase that we need while we're in the midst of a paradigm shift, because it will very soon just be called biology. It will be common knowledge that, of course, physics is playing a role. Of course, we are bioelectric beings, not just biochemical beings. And so we won't need to call it quantum biology or biophysics or any of those things, because it will just be what it is. And so everybody is operating out of a quantum biologic field, because that's the best way we can explain how humans actually work, how living things actually work in this moment, is to call it quantum biology. Now, the difference is whether or not you know that. So your patients, your clients, the people you work with, you yourself are being affected by by the electromagnetic field around you. Your body is in constant communication with all of it. So that doesn't change just because you're seeing somebody who doesn't ask you about any of this on the intake form. It's happening. So if you're running a clinic, or you're seeing clients, or you're seeing patients, it's not a matter of like, maybe I'll add this to my practice, maybe I won't. Like, it's there. It's done. This is it. Like, this is, so it's just a matter of, are you going to be an early adopter in terms of understanding that? Or are you going to wait and join the mainstream a little bit later? Because it's happening. This is just the way that things are going, and the way that the media is right now, and the pace of change. It's actually happening a lot faster than I thought it was going to. So here we are. And my guest today is jumped right in. She's an occupational therapist who got certified in applied quantum biology and has related it not just to her practice, but to her entire life. And she starts off by bringing up a really important question, and that it's something that plagues every practitioner that I talk to, which is having people who know what to do, having clients or patients who know what to do, and they know it will help, and yet they don't do it. Or they do it for a brief period of time and then they stop. So we get into a really interesting conversation about why that is, and what to do about it, and why quantum biology is such a beautiful paradigm to work out of, no matter what you do, but especially as an occupational therapist. All right. Do not forget to visit our friends at bondcharge.com for all of your red light needs, red light therapy, or little night lights, or whatever you need to take care of your beautiful circadian rhythms. Put QBC in the discount box at checkout. And also do download the My Circadian app. Practitioners, there is a bundle that you can get, so you can literally give out the code to your patients and clients. And this might help with what we talk about with Kristin, right? Where people like don't do the thing. This app is something that can help with that, because it gives people all the information and all of the details that they need minute to minute, and it gives them something to do and some buttons to push, makes it real for them. So check out mycircadianapp.com as well. And of course, if you're ready to jump in, the certification is on. Book a clarity call, go to the website, qbcpod.com. If you're just here for the vibes, no worries. You don't need to get certified. You can join QBC free and ask all your questions. And that is really where we are committed to supporting a community of people who want to live a light-informed life. All right. Enjoy my conversation with Kristin. Kristen Gilbert, welcome to the Quantum Biology Collective podcast. It is a pleasure to have you here.
Thanks, Meredith. I'm really grateful to be here with you.
Okay, so you have 10 years under your belt as an occupational therapist, and you have such a unique take on it because you say that occupational therapy is perfectly suited to champion quantum biology. I love that. So tell us a little bit about what kind of work you did and how you see those two things coming together.
Yes, so I was originally drawn to occupational therapy because of the breadth of this profession. Like what you actually do in OT can be so broad. It can look like almost anything. And as someone who has a really diverse set of interests, this is super appealing for me. And I think if we were called functional therapists, that would make so much more sense because I'm happy to
Yeah.
advocate for defining what OT is. Most people don't know what it is, and it is such a valuable profession because what we do is we meet people where they're at and we assess how they're functioning in the world. And then we get to work with them on, in the mental health sector, what I've been doing for 10 years is supporting people with individualized goal setting, setting up healthy routines. So with quantum biology and circadian health, I have found this to be absolutely foundational with my clients in public practice, especially when we can start with light hygiene, because when I give people a pair of blue blockers, and I have a loaner pair, when I set them up with that and when they can take it on to actually get outside in the morning, sometimes with people who are struggling, we have to start whenever you get up and slowly work it back to actual sunrise. But when people take this on, inevitably they come back a week later and they like, I feel like a different person.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that just after 1 week of
Yes.
light hygiene
Yes.
and circadian rhythm optimization. It's so powerful. I just continue to be amazed whenever I hear these stories. We dismiss it, we ignore it, we don't really think about it, but it's so powerful.
It's incredible. And so what I started to see over time in clinical practice was like I'd be helping people out, we'd set up routine, incorporating their goals, it's individualized, everything's going well, and then all of a sudden everything falls apart. They're like, oh, I don't know why I just stopped doing all the things. And so then I got really curious because that's as far as the traditional OT skill set extends. And I was like, what if there's this self-sabotage? What if there are these deeply seated illusory beliefs of lack of self-worthiness? That's really what's causing people to sabotage their progress again and again. And so I did Gabor Mate's compassionate inquiry program. I studied that for a year and work with people with addictions. And then I also took somatic relational therapy, which is a branch of somatic experiencing. And that has been invaluable in terms of being able to work with people through the nervous system and to help them expand their capacity to hold joy. Because we all have this upper limit problem, right? It's a subconscious upper limit where we only allow ourselves to feel so good. And usually this gets dictated very early on in life. And as soon as we bump up against that upper limit, there will be the sabotage comes in, everything falls apart. We're not really sure what happens. And I mean, I don't think anyone is immune to this because so many people say, oh, I know I should be doing X, Y, and Z. I know I should be going outside at sunrise or eating a certain way, but I tried that and I had a New Year's resolution and then it just fell apart, not sure why, back to baseline, which isn't really where people want to be, but it's where they end up. And so this is really the work that I do with people is like, how can we create self-care that facilitates coherence, right? And how can we expand the nervous system to hold this new rhythm of being as we integrate with the rhythms of nature and our own rhythms? How can we create this routine that supports that structure that then allows people to truly expand into the life that they fully desire.
I love that. And Kristin, it's such an important piece. And I remember years ago, someone, one of my mentors using the metaphor that it's like we've set like an internal thermostat to a certain temperature. And no matter what we do, if we're trying to cool the house down, and no matter how many windows we open, our being is going to try and find a way to go back to that because that's where the thermostat is set. So
Yes.
the thermostat is set to like, you can have like 33% joy, but no more. It's like, no
Yes.
matter what, when we start to go back past that, it's like there's some kind of internal trigger that's like, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
And then mentally, intellectually, we're like, I would like to continue. I'd like to get to 40 or 50, but it just feels like we can't. There's like an invisible wall.
Yes. And you
So,
bring up the head piece of like, we
mhm.
know in our head where we want to go, but unless we get our subtle body, unless we get all three centers of intelligence online with this idea, it's not going to happen. And I do that work with people through the nervous system. And I know you've talked a lot about the nervous system on this podcast. But for me personally, and with my clients that I work with, so much of it is about slowing down and getting current with what's actually happening inside of us. And so that's why I work with mindfulness and breath work practices to start to get to know like what's going on in my body, because so many people don't feel anything below the neck. And when we can start to feel the body, there might be a lot of good reasons why the body is also why we're cut off from the body. But when we can start to drop into the wisdom of the body, and when we can connect to proper light cycles, when we can connect to nature, when we go outside and we experience entrainment with the Schumann resonance, when we
Right.
find this rhythmicity of being, this is like the foundation for the nervous system to start to settle. And the settling is required first for us to then be able to expand our capacity for joy.
Beautifully explained. So, the first step, and this is really important, especially for people who work with clients. I know so many like brilliant coaches and doctors, and they're like, I have all of this guidance for people but they're not doing it. So, this is really helpful. Or if I have guidance for myself and I'm not doing it, as you were saying. So, we're talking about settling, and that's where I was on a clarity call the other day with the doctor and talking about circadian rhythm, and she's like, "Well, will it help with mental health?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, it will."
Absolutely.
Because what you're saying is that first step is to slow and settle into the rhythm of our bodies, which is connected to the rhythms of nature and light and
Yes.
darkness.
And like living in
Okay.
cities and our hustle culture, like that promotes dissonance. And then when we choose to go to nature, when we choose to be in nature, simply walking and breathing is such a tremendous therapy, because it's one of the ways that we can start settling and slowing down. And this is revolutionary, right? When we are programmed for hustle culture and go, 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 and that's like a survival strategy. But when we
Mm.
can come into coherence with nature and with ourselves, this is an evolutionary strategy. And for me, learning how to belong to myself has been absolutely integral in my own evolutionary process. And it's central to the work that I do with people, is this idea of belonging.
Beautiful. Yes. Because that is also something I think that holds us back. If we're going to change or grow, there's a subconscious belief that will be rejected on some level, or not. If we are different from the people who are around us, we won't belong there anymore. And also, like, yeah, just on that note of hustle culture, I have different points in my life. I really participate in like what I call like the regular world, where people are out and they're networking and doing things and going to conferences and doing all the stuff. And in my experience, it's like, it's not that you need to not do that. People are like, oh, well, I don't want to move to a cabin in the woods and never talk to anybody, so I'm not going to do this. What, in my experience, if I can participate in what you're talking about of the slowing down and building that as the foundation of my life, then I can go out and participate in the more hustly bustly type stuff without being thrown into decoherence. It's when but if that's my source, then the burnout comes.
Yes. Yes, because a healthy nervous system is a flexible nervous system, right? So
Right.
when we can settle and drop into rest and digest, parasympathetic, then, we can go, and I feel it when I go to the city because I live in like a small, somewhat urban area, but when I go to like a big city, I drive off the ferry and I'm like, whoa. And I feel this stimulation of that. And I'm so
Yeah.
grateful that I can go back to the settled quality. And it is about just connecting to nature everywhere I go for me.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I was on the subway in New York City recently, which I hadn't done something like that in a long time. And it was like really busy time. And the subway car was like packed with people. And I was like, oh, yeah, this is, forgot about this. But it was kind of fun because I was grounded and I was like, in coherence and in my body. And it was like a fun adventure. So it's not that we can't do those things, but it's, I guess, this awareness that there's more.
Yeah. And we all long to belong. And when we go to nature, we belong in nature inherently. And that's what creates this coherence, right? It's like allowing our physiological rhythms to entrain to nature. And, you spoke to this external quality of belonging. And I think belonging in nature, this is why it's therapeutic. One of the many reasons why is because we can entrain these rhythms, but also when we do the inner work, and this is one thing I've investigated a lot in myself, is like learning how to truly belong to ourself is an essential evolutionary strategy for being a successful human in the world. And that comes from being able to steward ourselves through difficult experiences. I went through quite a devastating heartbreak almost 2 years ago now, and I just felt like I was completely in pieces for a long time. And I really leaned on my people. I'm so grateful. I have so many wonderful friends that supported me through that. And there was a part of that journey I really had to walk alone. And I had to meet the darkest, most scared, most in pain parts of myself from my highest self and steward those parts to really truly be with all the parts of myself in order to put myself back together. And this was an initiation. It was a really important initiation because I did collude in my own victim mentality with that for a long time, but there's dissonance with that, right? And it's like when I could truly meet myself with care and compassion for the oldest exiled parts of myself that were in so much pain, this was essentially just a completely transformative experience in my life because I really truly developed this quality of self belonging. And once you have that, that cannot be taken from you. Once you understand how to meet all the different parts of yourselves, it's a skill. And it's a skill that I can now support others in discovering in themselves. And that was such a dark night of my soul, but I can say I am so much better for it now. And I have alchemized that experience into my soul offering and my inspired work.
Yeah, Kelly Ritter made the point to me that often finding the right practitioner, it can be about that person's specialized knowledge, but it's often about finding somebody who embodies where you need to go.
Yes, because a stronger biofield will up level other weaker biofields around them, right? And this is also like in terms of quantum biology, we understand like we attract the people that are meant to work with us. And that is usually because we have these gems that alter our biofield. It's all out there to be perceived, whether we're conscious of that or not. But it really is like so much of the therapeutic relationship is about that quantum resonance. And it's such a beautiful experience when you click into that with someone as well. It's like, for me, it's nourishing, like doing this work with people. It doesn't take from me. I don't take on other people's stuff. I am able to, it nourishes me in a way that maybe wasn't possible before I understood things from the quantum biology perspective, from the subtle body perspective, from the perspective of the biofield and how we carry trauma in our bodies, all of these things.
Say more about that, because that's something that I find so empowering about studying quantum biology. I talk to a lot of scientists and doctors who approach it from a very almost materialist perspective, even though we're talking about things on the quantum scale. But I feel like quantum biology has the potential to be the bridge to give that scientific foundation to the types of things that you're talking about, such as the subtle bodies.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Eileen McCusick talks about how we store our trauma in our biofield. And so this is one way of looking at it. There's so many different ways to look at trauma and how we carry trauma and how we can release it, which is amazing. There's just such a myriad of ways. So we also store trauma in our metabolic water, in our exclusion zone water. And we don't have studies right now to prove this, but we also know that we store it in our fascia, which is likely in the metabolic water. And as body workers will tell you, you can press on a certain point and this flood of emotions come back and these things bubble up in order to dissipate. But again, the nervous system has to be ready for trauma release, because if things come flooding back, then we can end up getting ensnared in them again. And so we need to feel regulated and often co-regulated for that to happen. But quantum biology gives us so much information about the layers of our subtle body as well. And I work with the Enneagram with my clients, whether they know it or not. Usually they know it. I like to introduce the idea. And on a subtle body level, the Enneagram talks about the 3 centers of intelligence. And we can store trauma in the belly or the body center. We can store trauma in the heart center where our emotional intelligence resides. We can store it in our heads. And when we can get all 3 of these centers communicating with each other, first we need to bring them online. And then when they get to talking to each other, then that is really when we can release what isn't serving us and come back to a regulated state and then move forward in a new way, in a more whole way. And this work happens in the subtle body.
So when you're working with someone to move through that, we started out by talking about raising the ceiling on our joy capacity or our success capacity or our financial stability capacity or whatever it is. Those are probably the big 3, our health capacity. So you talked about that first piece being to slow down and integrate into our rhythm, which is connected to the rhythm of nature, grounding, light and dark cycles. So then the next phase is moving up through these subtle bodies.
Yeah, I think so. And
Okay.
so I have a 6-week course that I've designed, and in each week we get a different lesson about quantum biology and circadian health. And then we also get a different nervous system regulation technique. And in week 2, we learn the 3 centers of intelligence meditation. And initially, we're simply tuning into these parts of our body and becoming aware of what they represent. And when I first started working with one of my teachers, whose name is Carly Forrest, she was cueing us to feel our belly. And this was an entire retreat where I was like, what do you mean I don't feel anything? Like, I don't feel anything in my belly. And then at the first retreat, I was kind of like, yeah, belly, whatever, cool, see ya. And then I came back a year later and she's still talking about the belly. And I was like, okay, why can't I feel this part of my body? And I find that curiosity is such a key way in of like, okay, obviously I have a belly. Why am I cut off from my belly? And from there opened up like so many layers of social conditioning, of like our bellies, how they're supposed to look, as women, all this self scrutiny. So these are like the layers of trauma as they're peeling back that show up when we start to steward these parts of ourselves. So learning how to meet what was in the belly was actually a process for me that took years. And it's an incredibly valuable process because our belly, it's like our gut instinct, right? It's like when we just know something in our bones, when we get that sacred no. I call it the belly is like the home to the sacred no. When we just get that zing of like, no, that's not okay. So it's home to our sense of boundaries, and it's also home to anger. And so when we have a healthy belly, we can really we can be in right relationship with anger, because anger gets set aside in a lot of spiritual communities, and it's a frequency. Like we need to have access to the full range of frequencies. And one of my Enneagram teachers was talking about being able to feel and hold the totality of anger when it shows up, to be able to contain that in the body, to not need to put it on anybody else, but to feel the powerful mobilizing heat of anger in its totality. And, the reality is that emotions have a 90-second trajectory. So if we develop the awareness to meet ourselves in the experience that we're having, and we can hold it for 90 seconds, we can trust that zing of intensity will then move through us in a very short period of time. And then we can be in right relationship with anger, because anger shows up when boundaries have been crossed. Like, it's a healthy emotion, but it's not healthy to get programmed into that frequency and run that frequency.
Right. It's not healthy to get programmed in, to run on it, to use it as fuel. And it's not healthy either to just ignore it, pretend it's not there. But it is a powerful messenger. And I love this so much because I think a lot of the time we hold ourselves in a state of dysregulation or a state of dissonance by unconsciously trying to avoid certain types of feelings, right? Like our mind just like, oh, not going to think that, or just, and so we're in this continuous state of like avoidance and duck and cover, and like, because we can't just be with the totality of it, because it's like, I don't know how to have that feeling. And so when we feel that little spark, it's like, nope. So this practice you're describing, it like opens us to feel the feeling, move through it, and be like, oh, I'm still here. It didn't kill me. I also didn't kill anyone else. Right? Like I just sat here and felt it.
Yeah.
And then like that expansion process is opened up. And I'm going to tell a quick story because I think this is like so key on the anger piece. This was years ago, but I got a piece of information about somebody who is relatively close to me. And it turned out that there had been information that had been withheld from me for a long time. And I was told it. And I was just like filled with rage. And so at first, and there was a part of me that was like, okay, like this doesn't actually directly affect you. Like, why do I feel so angry? And then it was like, oh, because I have been doing things I don't want to do to make this other person comfortable. I have been, and I had all of a sudden I could see the whole, like the full dynamics of the relationship laid out and all of the ways that I played into it. So as opposed to this being like, oh, that was a dumb decision. Why'd she like, it was like so much more but it was mine, not
Yeah.
hers.
Well, and way to be curious, first and foremost, and then also take responsibility for your role in it. Because when we avoid these uncomfortable feelings, often then we need some numbing. We reach for numbing strategies in order to cover them up. And even, Gabor Mate talks about depression being repression, is like this pushing down of our human experience. But when we have a regulated nervous system, then we can come from a settled place, get activated, and in these like waves of resonance and resilience, come back to that place and be able to get curious. Wow, that was a strong reaction. What's underneath that for me? Because that is an evolutionary strategy. This is how we learn and this is how we become more whole humans, is to be able to experience the totality of what it means to be on this planet right now.
Yeah, and being on this planet right now is like no joke. It's no joke. And if
It's
you're
a
here listening to a conversation like this, like you are most likely dialed right into it.
it's advanced practice being on this planet right now, right? And all the more reason that we absolutely need healthy self-care. We need circadian strategies. We need to cultivate our own inner coherence to be able to navigate what's out there. Like the world needs this work right now more than ever.
Yeah, and I think it was Julie Shauna was talking about like stabilizers. She's like, I feel the call for stabilizers. And when I hear you describe your work, I'm like, okay, Kristen is planting her flag as a stabilizer.
Yes.
And, if you're listening to this and you're like, oh, maybe I should, work with someone like that. Yes. And I think you're sharing your story of the heartbreak was important because as, an author I used to read a long time ago used to say like spiritual growth isn't a pleasure cruise. But that word that you used, initiation, I think is so powerful because it gives it meaning.
Yes. And for me, it was an initiation into healthy attachment with myself, which is another way of saying self belonging. Because I had to own in myself that I had an unhealthy attachment to this person. And that was what was creating the suffering for me. And the reality is, like, we are so good at creating our own suffering. And when we can get out from under the victim mentality and see it, then we can really empower ourselves to liberate ourselves. And yes, most often we do need professional support for that too. And it can be such a beautiful process of co regulation to be stewarded through that by someone else.
Yes, because it's once you enter that space where, and you put it so beautifully, right? Like all the parts of myself are okay, and I'm not in disconnection from the darkness, from, the worst things I've ever done and the worst I've ever felt and the worst I've ever been treated. Like I can meet them and
Mm-hmm.
make peace with them, which then allows me to be of service to others.
Yeah, well, it's a way of, I think of it as filling in my own holes. If I have this like hole, this energetic leak where I'm like asking somebody else to fulfill something for me, then I'm like leaking them my power. And so as we learn how to more fully belong to ourselves, it's like we're sealing in these holes. We're like, I can take care of me. I don't need somebody else to do something for me in order for me to feel okay. Like I can do that for me. And I can tend to my most exiled parts in a way that, I have a regular relationship with my inner child now. Like we hang out, like we talk, and I take her for ice cream sometimes. which she loves, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, they love that. Yeah, and that's a beautiful part of ourselves as well that we've often exiled. So you also have a strong background in music.
Yes.
Let's talk about how music and rhythm play into the rhythm of nature and the rhythm of everything we've been talking about.
Yes, I love this. Thank you for bringing this forward, Meredith. Music is absolutely like my lifeblood. Like, I don't know where I would be without music. I actually have an undergrad in classical music, and there's an interesting story of self-belonging with music, because when I was in music school, by the time I was done classical music school, I felt like it had just ground the love out of it for me. Like, I could produce on command. I could learn songs written by dead guys. I could complete all my assignments and get honors and all that. But it just became dry for me. And
Yeah.
then I left classical music. And then 10
Were
years
you
later,
the singer or a musician or did you play an instrument or what was your
I'm a piano player,
okay.
and I did education and composition majors at U of T. So it's a very competitive music school.
Wow. Okay. For the non-Canadians out there, Kristen and I are Canadian. Yes. The music program at University of Toronto is top tier. That is no joke. All right.
Yeah.
Rigor.
Yeah.
A lot of rigor, but not a lot of
Yes.
soul, is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And then about 10 years later, I just felt this call to learn how to DJ, because I'd been going to festivals and enjoying electronic music. And I was like, I really want to express myself in this way. And having had all the classical background, it was just like, it began this process of belonging to myself by doing something completely different. It didn't really have anything to do with classical music. I was, this is just for me. This is for me, and this feels so good. And I love it. And I love performing. I love facilitating an experience. And on the surface, yes, DJing might seem like it is not so quantum, because you're up late, you're in environments where there's blue light, you're pushing your body. But what's magical about it is like kind of being the driver of the spaceship and facilitating an experience of oneness through rhythmic entrainment for people. It's
Oh, what a great description of DJing. It has been a minute since I actually, no, that's not true. I was going to say I haven't done that in a long time, but that's not true. I went to a music festival last spring and did that. Yes, it's amazing. And I just, a quick note, like it's not quantum in the sense that we are, it's out of alignment with circadian rhythm, but I do think participating in really high vibe activities is worth it and balances it all out. So,
Absolutely. And, talk about belonging, like
yeah.
the festival community, there's so much belonging there. There's so much communion. And what's happening with rhythmic entrainment is like all of our nervous systems are
Mm-hmm.
getting entrained to the same rhythm. And this is
Mm.
a very real phenomena. It's like similar to if you take a whole bunch of grandfather clocks and you put them in a room together, and all the pendulums are swinging in different directions. An hour later, you'll go back to the room and all the pendulums will be entrained. And that is a quantum phenomena. And that's what happens to our bodies when we're on a dance floor. And then we can also look at things from the perspective of our metabolic water. And I've been delving into cymatics lately, which is so cool. It's such an amazing science to have a visual representation of the frequency of sound, and knowing that we're 75% water by mass, but 99% water by molecule, knowing that our internal waters are literally responding to frequency in a psychedelic way, and that we're all experiencing that. No wonder it's so powerful. It's so, so cool.
That's
And
so cool.
yeah. And so
So good.
there's another piece to the
Mm-hmm.
music story that I'd like to tell, which is a reclamation that's happened this year that is also a part of more fully belonging to myself. So I got a free piano a few years back, and I started toiling around after 20 years of not playing piano. I was like, I'm just going to lift pop songs. I'm just going to keep it fun. I don't want to play songs written by dead guys. I just want to do this for me. But then I was realizing I was not super inspired to play on that instrument because it wasn't really a quality instrument. And then a friend of mine bought a grand piano this spring or earlier this year, and I went over to his house and I played his grand piano, and I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh, actually, I think I need a grand piano. And I had told myself all these stories about how I couldn't have a grand piano. Like, I've always wanted a grand piano as a piano player. And I just told myself I had all these reasons why I couldn't have one. And then I just realized that it was all BS. And I was like, I'm going to buy myself a grand piano.
Good for you, Kristen. I love to hear it. Okay.
Yeah. And so I drove all over the island trying to find the piano, and I went to the mainland ultimately and bought an incredible piano. And I bawled my eyes out as I was driving home. I was like, I can't believe I actually did that. And it has been such a reclamation to have an exquisite instrument to play. It's been like
Like
such,
full body chills with this. It's so good.
yeah, it's just been so incredible to sit and play and reclaim these old parts of myself, with my young self that just loved to play music and then just got really separated from that. And now I play my piano every day and I'm so in love with it, and it's just for me. It's so beautiful. I just am ecstatic, and it has turned out to be a gift to my community as well, because I've already had one piano concert and everyone was so excited to come. Like, they were like, piano
How
concert, sign me up.
wonderful.
Yeah, so I had 30 people come over and we all just cozied up, and people were just like smiling and their eyes closed and listening. And DJing is about the body, it's about the booty, piano is about the heart. And I really saw it received in like such a beautiful way. And so it's been
Wow.
amazing. I have a grand piano now.
What a gift to yourself. Like, and that's, I mean, we started out talking about increasing our capacity for joy. And this is just the most perfect story to illustrate that, is to give yourself this gift of this exquisite instrument and to play it just for fun.
To experience the beauty of music. And so I got the Cimoscope app
Oh, great.
after I listened
Okay.
to your episode with John Stewart Reed, and then I'll
Okay.
put that on my piano while I play, and then I kind of like watch it and I look at it. So I
Oh
just
my God.
so
That's so good.
and I think it would be so fun to, like, next piano concert, actually like put that up on a big screen for people to witness,
Yes.
as like, this is what's happening inside you when you are in training to this specific resonance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Kristen, you might have just invented something here. The cymatic piano concert.
It's gonna happen. I can feel it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I just also want to say like how beautiful it is like to have your community gathered around the piano. Like that's what we used to do.
Yes.
I saw, like, of course, on Twitter/X on my screen, but somebody had put a little cartoon from when the radio was first invented. And there was an illustration on the left of all of these people standing around the piano. Someone played and someone was singing. And then the illustration on the right, they were all just sitting on the couch listening to the radio. And it was like, technology is destroying community.
Yes, I mean, this is what we've done for thousands of years, is gather, especially in, it's the dark season right now. We get together and we gather by the fire. I actually have a wood stove in my space as well, and we keep
Oh,
it
nice. So, and
all,
there's infrared light. You've got it
yes,
all covered.
infrared. I've got all these like red strip lights decorating my space, and so it's all totally circadian. And for people to come and again let their bodies entrain to that magical
Yes.
resonance. It's like such a beautiful gift to offer people. And it feels like a midlife transition, because I have been DJing and festivaling and dance partying for so long. And I was really pleased with people's enthusiasm about the more quiet, contemplative, heartfelt piano experience.
Yes. And do you play all kinds of music, like classical, pop, all of it?
I do, yeah. Now I play whatever I want.
Love it.
Yeah.
No more rules.
Yeah.
So I want to just reflect back, talking to you, I'm really seeing something that I don't see all that often, which is like the expansive, creative, woo oriented approach, but combined with like quite a lot of rigor and structure and discipline. And I think sometimes we make those things a little mutually exclusive or compartmentalized, right? And if it's like, if I'm the person who needs all a study to prove every single thing all the time, then I can't go into any of the spheres, that we've been discussing here. Or on the other end, sometimes it's like, well, if I live in this creative, intuitive, energetic space, like I can't go over there and like put any structure or rigor around it because it'll wreck it or something. And you're just like a really nice example of how that's not true.
Yeah, my best friend, she likes to make collages, and she made me this collage card for Christmas, which has like colorful zebra print in the back and then like half monk face to
Mm-hmm.
here and then like party girl underneath. And I was like, wow, you see me. And it's like I love paradox. I love uniting opposing ideas, and like you can be disciplined and wild at the same time. We can embody these opposites because then we can also occupy anywhere along that continuum. And we don't do ourselves any favors when we put ourselves in boxes, and we
You're
compartmentalize
right.
things of like, oh, I'm like this, so I should do X, Y, and Z. And really, it comes back again and again to like touching into what is it I need right now? I need an early bedtime for the most part. And then every once in a while, I can push myself and go out and have fun and get fed in a totally different way. Because I find being in the boxes is like a way where things get dry, like they did in classical music school. And I've always just really followed my interests. And when I get interested in something, I go. I go for it and I go down that rabbit hole and I go down the whole way. And my curiosity feeds a lot of different parts of me. I have a little saying, nothing like a little obsession to get the job done.
Absolutely. Yes. And it's like sometimes we are a little obsessed and mono-focused on something and starting a new habit or getting through a tough time or whatever it is. Oh, we don't, yeah, but it's a little obsession. I love that.
Yeah,
It's like, it's okay. And then we go back to, being a little more balanced.
yeah.
But we
And I
have to
mean,
be open to all the different ways of being 'cause they all have their role at any given moment.
yes. And working with the Enneagram has also really taught me how to be a more well rounded human, because
Mm-hmm.
that little obsession can burn us out, as you
Yeah.
know, right? If it gets out of control. And so through working with the Enneagram, I've really developed like such a deeper understanding of how to slow down and what was driving the obsession, what was driving the busyness, the constant distraction, the constant productivity. Like we cannot be constantly productive. We look to nature and we look at the ocean and the wave, it crests and it builds and then it falls. And when we can't just push and push and push and push and expect our lovely bodies to keep performing in that way, they're just at a certain point, they're going to be like, excuse me. So, again, coming back to the rhythms of nature, coming back to like, what am I feeling right now? I feel tired. I'm just going to go lay on my daybed and close my eyes for 5 minutes. And I'm just going to honor my hardworking body's need for rest right now. And like just that practice has been so revolutionary for me of like, when I'm tired, I rest. When I'm hungry, I eat. When I have to go pee, I go pee. I don't like override my body and wait, you know? And to be able to truly slow down in order to catch up with myself, because our bodies need us to slow down in order to feel what's actually happening. That's been one of the greatest gifts of self-belonging for me.
Yes. Yeah. And back to that slowness piece, which is so key and challenging for some of us who are always have a lot of things we want to be doing. But yeah, you're reminding me too, like Irene Lyons is like, regulating your nervous system is kind of boring. like, like you got to be like, it's, you just be sitting still. And like what you're saying, it's like, I feel like always wanting to be stimulated and productive. It's like, take those things away. And it's like, ah, but then move through that and you get to a new place.
Yeah, we're so addicted to our phones, you know, and they're designed to be addictive. It's like as soon as we sit down and we don't have anything to do, there's such a strong compulsion to just like pull out the phone and scroll and doom scroll. And when we can just go, okay, just leave that just for a minute. Like the phones are constantly programming our nervous system. We know that blue light stimulates cortisol. We know that we get a dopamine dump when we're scrolling, when we're on our phone too much. Like we need to keep that dopamine. And so it really is a revolutionary act to choose to go, I'm just going to sit here and be a person.
Just gonna like human it up for a minute.
Yeah. Be a human being, not a human doing.
Right.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, before we wrap, if you could just give a quick overview of the Enneagram, because I realize people might not know what that is. And you seem to have a very interesting approach to it. So,
Yes, I love the Enneagram. At first glance, a personality typing system, and maybe you did a test at one point and were like, I'm a 2 or I'm a 7 or
yeah, I
whatever.
think I was a 9.
Yeah, I could
Is
see
that
that.
tracking?
Yeah. But to me, the Enneagram is a psycho-spiritual map designed for personal transformation.
Okay.
And it was created by mystic psychiatrists, which is not an oxymoron, in the 60s and 70s in South America, and brought to Berkeley, brought to Esalen by Claudio Naranjo. And it is a living map that really shows us how we go to sleep. It's shadow work, and your type is very much based in what happened to you in your early holding environment as a very young person and how that shapes you. And the idea is that our personality is how we go to sleep. So our personality is made up of these strategies that we developed in order to hopefully get our needs met in that early holding environment. And as a parent, you know, like there's no possible way that you can attune to all of your children's needs. And this is the human condition, is that we get separated from our essence as the personality construct forms as a survival strategy. And if as adults, we're still defaulting to the survival strategy that we developed when we were 3, you could see that can cause problems, especially if we're just going to sleep and doing the same things over and over again. And so the Enneagram shows us how to wake up. And whenever you're studying the Enneagram, you are doing presence practices every day, like the 3 centers of intelligence, because the Enneagram says if you're a type 7, then you may be numbing through busyness and being go, go, go. And the Enneagram will show you how to recognize those cues in yourself and how to do it differently. So the example I just gave of choosing to notice when my body's tired instead of pushing, 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 and being able to rest. That's a simple example. And for me personally, I think the Enneagram has supported me more than anything else in my personal growth and in becoming a more well-rounded human, because the idea is that we want to return to our essence as adults. We want to return to embodying this essence that is our birthright, and that when we can be present and respond in situation, whatever it is, with presence rather than defaulting to the sleeping automatic way of doing things, then we can expand our capacity for joy. We can expand our capacity to be here. We can come from a regulated place. And so there's so much nuance with the Enneagram, and I love talking to people about it. And when people do a Rise and Shine course, we do get into it. We get into 3 centers meditation. We start to talk about the ways that the patterns of like, oh, well, that's a 9 pattern, what you're experiencing. And this is how we can recognize it when it shows up and have the freedom to choose something different.
Yeah, the freedom to choose. And to have a template that supports us towards that freedom is so invaluable. So thanks for sharing about how that works. I'm going to go back now and see. It was a long time. And it's funny, when I was doing my executive coaching training, I remember I picked like somebody who was like very different from me so I could cultivate a different, just capacity and parts of myself. And he was like a very kind of blunt, gruff, and he'd be like, all right, so this is executive coaching. We're here, we're talking to business people. He's like, if you're here with like some Enneagram shit or something like that, this is not the place for you. And I remember being like, okay, well, I love the Enneagram, but I will keep that to myself for this training.
Oh,
and he was great. I learned so much from him, and he made me a much better coach. But that was just reminding me of that moment. He's like,
oh, funny.
Okay, so you spent 10 years in occupational therapy, working in public services, and you have now shifted over to become a private practitioner.
Yeah.
So tell us how we can find you. You are certified by the Institute of Applied Quantum Biology as one of the many pieces that you bring to your work. So lead us there. Help the people find you.
Thank you. Yeah, my website is my name, kristengilbert.ca. And I also have a YouTube channel called sunhunter_CV. That's short for Comox Valley, where I live. I have a bunch of free meditations on there, and also doing a free sunrise challenge starting March 7th and guiding people with that, just encouraging people to get out for sunrise, taking a little photo, posting it in the WhatsApp group. So nice and sweet and simple. I have a course that I've taken 5 years to design, and it's gone through many iterations, and it's solidified more in the last 6 months. So I call it Rise and Shine.
Nice.
And over the course of 6 weeks, people learn all the basics of circadian health and quantum biology. And they also learn 6 different nervous system regulation strategies. And that's like the foundation of what I want to establish with people. And then beyond that, 6 weeks, the work that we do together is the more individualized work of what's holding us back, what's limiting the amount of joy that we can experience, how do we slowly expand our nervous system in an integrated way to be able to hold these bigger experiences and really give ourselves permission to live the life that our heart truly desires. So I'll be doing that as an online group starting at the end of March. So if you want to get on my email list, and I'll be letting people know when these things are starting, and I'd love to have you.
Gorgeous. So that's kristengilbert.ca, and it's Kristin, Kristen, Kristen Gilbert.ca. Kristin, thank you so much for being here. This has just been a really beautiful, expansive conversation. And I know that just listening to it is going to be helpful for so many people. And thank you all for listening and tuning into this. Sometimes I'm having these chats and I'm like, oh yeah, other people are going to listen to this.
Thank you so much for having me, Meredith. It was really beautiful to connect with you.
This has been the Quantum Biology Collective podcast. To find a practitioner who practices from this point of view, visit our directory at quantumbiologycollective.org. If you are a practitioner, definitely take a look at the Applied Quantum Biology certification. a 6-week study of the science of the new human health paradigm and its practical application with your patients and clients. We also love to feature graduates of the program on this very podcast. Until next time, the QBC.